The World Bank Country Director for Sri Lanka, Maldives and Nepal, Faris Ejhadad Zavos, says the World Bank is deeply concerned with the perpetration of violence in Sri Lanka. Faris Ejhadad Zavos tweeted, "Those responsible are only standing in the way of the country's immediate economic recovery and making the task even more difficult for development partners." United Nations Resident Coordinator to Sri Lanka, Hana Singha Hamdi, says the United Nations condemns all violence. In a tweet, the UN Resident Coordinator said, "My thoughts are with all those who are injured by the violence today. The United Nations condemns all violence and calls on the government to protect peaceful protesters and hold accountable those perpetrating or instigating violence." She tweeted again saying, "We are deeply concerned by the clashes today and condemn violence that risks further escalation. Police should protect peaceful protesters and use new emergency powers with restraint. Peaceful protests and dialogue are important to find a legitimate resolution to the current crisis." Adding further, she said, "Everyday people have suffered immensely owing to the economic crisis. The crisis has brought together the people from all ethnicities and religions behind a common peaceful cause. I hope their efforts can continue." German ambassador to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Holger Schubert, has called on all sides for calm and restraint, while noting that violence is no solution to neither side. The German ambassador tweeted, "Current developments hurt my heart. What used to be an example of a well-functioning democracy, people peacefully exercising their right to free speech, has turned into tense confrontation." British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Sarah Hulton, has condemned the violence against peaceful protesters today. In a tweet, the British High Commissioner says the authorities have a responsibility to safeguard citizens' rights to protest peacefully and to hold the perpetrators of violence to account. Norwegian ambassador to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Trine Eskadale, says Norway condemns the violent attacks on peaceful protesters. The Norwegian ambassador's tweet reads, "I am extremely distressed to see the events unfolding in Sri Lanka today. This is a violation of people's right to exercise their democratic rights. I urge the government of Sri Lanka to show restraint and ensure the safety of everyone." United States Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, has condemned the violence against the peaceful protesters. Taking to Twitter today, the ambassador said, "We condemn the violence against peaceful protesters and call on the government to conduct a full investigation, including the arrest and prosecution of anyone who incited violence." The U.S. ambassador's tweet further reads, "Our sympathies are with those injured today, and we urge calm and restraint across the island." New Zealand High Commissioner to Sri Lanka and Maldives, Michael Appleton, tweeted a consular message for New Zealanders in Sri Lanka. He says a nationwide curfew has been imposed with immediate effect until further notice following violent clashes this afternoon in Colombo. There is potential for further unrest. The New Zealand High Commissioner's tweet reads, "New Zealanders in Sri Lanka are advised to obey the curfew and avoid all protest sites and demonstrations. They are also advised to monitor local media for developments and comply with any instructions issued by the local authorities." The Swiss ambassador to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Dominic Fergler, has condemned the violence on peaceful protesters and urged the government to hold the perpetrators of violence to account. Further, he appealed for calm and the continuation of the democratic and non-violent process to ensure the resolution of this crisis and safety for all. Condemning the violence against peaceful protesters, Australian High Commissioner David Hawley stated that freedom of assembly and freedom of expression are pillars of any democratic society when they remain peaceful. The High Commissioner has encouraged restraint and calm.